The R46, at 47 years old, is currently the oldest subway car used in revenue service in the New York City subway system. Running in the B division or lettered lines as most know them by, these subway cars can be found on the A, C, N, Q, and W lines, along with the Rockaway Shuttle, but that line is irrelevant. The contract order for this subway stock was awarded to Pullman Standard on April 7, 1972 for $246 million. 900 subway cars were to be constructed for the price of $273,000 per car. Others bidded for the contract like Westinghouse, but Pullman ultimately won the bid. Damn, imagine we had some R46s with Westinghouse 1447J traction motors. Shit would have been weird. The R46 stock were to be considered nearly identical to their predecessors, the R44s. I'm kinda glad they weren't though, as the R44s experienced many issues throughout their useful service lives, and I hear that they weren't very comfortable for operators. The R46 car order was the largest single order of passenger cars in United States railroad history, and to my knowledge, that still stands to this day. After a bit of tweaking to the order, the number of subway cars included was reduced to 754, and the total cost was also reduced to $210 million. The first cars were expected to be in the system and testing by October 1973, and the full order to be completed by 1975. However, due to cracks being discovered in the bogies and a strike at Pullman Standard, the order was delayed by 3 years, with the final cars entering service in December 1978. I know I said bogie and not truck, and that is my preference. I am also utilizing the word bogie so no one gets confused and thinks I'm talking about an actual diesel truck. Continuing on, even after the delivery of the entire R46 fleet, the issues persisted. The cracking issues were so bad that 1,700 cracks were discovered within the bogies by 1980. The R46 series of trains, just a few years after their delivery, quickly gained the status of the most troubled cars ever purchased. It's crazy because we thought the 179s were the same thing when they entered the system. Because of the cracking issues within the bogies of the cars, the Transit Authority attempted to limit the use of the R46 subway cars until their bogies were replaced with the new R44 type bogies ordered from General Steel Industries and Buckeye Industries. Due to all of the issues the Transit Authority experienced with the delivery of the R46 subway cars, they chose to file multiple lawsuits against the manufacturers, Pullman Standard, and the numerous subcontractors involved in the construction of the subway cars. In the late 80s to early 90s, as a part of the Transit Authority's general overhaul program, the R46s were sent upstate to Hornell, New York to be rebuilt by Morrison Knudsen. As a part of this overhaul, the R46s received LCD side destination signs, replacing the traditional roll signs found on most old tech trains. The trains were also repainted with the blue stripes removed, a horrible decision in my opinion. Finally, the P-wire braking system was replaced with the more reliable SME braking system found on many other trains, like the R32s, 62s, and 68s. Many operators had trouble with the P-wire system, and both the R44s and 46s were known to have their emergency brakes activated randomly. Even shop personnel had trouble with the system, with them being trained on the more traditional SME systems the other trains used at the time. With these improvements and many more that came as a part of the general overhaul program, the R46s went from being known as the worst fleet in the system, and at the time, lemons, to being one of the more reliable fleets in the system. The R46 was originally intended to be replaced in 2011, and as many of you know, a lot of subway cars were retired around that time. The R46s, still having a good amount of life left in them, were retained in the system and overhauled for them to continue providing reliable service for the lines they ran on. A little more than a decade later though, these trains aren't really performing the best. The R46s, upon entry into the New York City subway system and even following the general overhaul period, were very similar to the R44s which came before. They had a similar blue stripe design on the exterior car body, a similar cab, the same P-wire braking system, and the same length at 75 feet long per car. The R46s, however, were more reliable trains, with the R44s being retired in the late 2000s due to cracks being found in the hulls of the trains. From what I hear though, that wasn't the only reason these trains were prematurely retired. The other reason is the fact that the R44s had a very small cab, one which was very uncomfortable for operators, which is the reason they were retired. I'm not too sure about that though, because some of the trains that stuck around longer, like the R32, 42, and 62s, all had half cabs. Anyways, the R44s are probably the closest you'll get to an R46, with their many similarities. I haven't had many experiences on the 44s, but it seems like the 46s are the more like the railcars. If that isn't the case, definitely tell me in the comments below, but despite the many issues we are currently having on our R46s, you can't lie, they are comfortable. I enjoy riding this fleet, especially when I have a window seat. Going over the Manhattan Bridge or through the Rockaway Flats is almost always a great experience while I'm on board one of these trains. They may not be my favorites in the system, or even the B division, however, I still love them. Despite all this, I think its time has come. With many of the issues on these trains occurring because of poor maintenance and the age of the railcars, it's time for them to be replaced. I love the transverse seating and the interior, but the truth is, the longitudinal seating found on our new tech trains allows for more capacity, and as ridership returns to pre-pandemic levels, we're gonna need that. The R46s are a lot of people's favorite rolling stock, but we have to accept the fact that the life of these subway cars is coming to an end. So throughout these next few years, fan the R46. Get as many photos and videos of it as you can, because once they are gone, they aren't coming back. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to get more from Mystic Transit, like, subscribe, and consider supporting me via channel memberships or super thanks. Special thanks to Stuart Guberman for supporting me at the Train Service Supervisor tier, and Daniel Green for supporting me at the 2 Broadway tier.